Well, welcome everybody. My name's Alice Bryan. I'm the editorial director for online magazine Design Insider. And Design Insider is owned and published by trade association Commercial Interiors UK. The hospitality sector is really changing. And of course, at the heart of it remains the hotel. But that now is sat within a rolling landscape of apart hotels, service departments, branded residents, private members clubs, and travel experiences which are shaped by hospitality brands. And what we understand as a stay has also widened because it's been responding to guests who are looking for authenticity, comfort, and a real sense of place, but without losing what they're looking for in service and quality and care. So a stay could be 1 night, 3 nights, a week, a month, a year, a fluid pattern of work, life and travel. And resorts and apart hotels and extended stay models then are asking new questions of design, because guests now are inhabiting these spaces rather than just passing through them. So for commercial interior designers, the brief has changed. We're now working somewhere between home and hotel to deliver spaces that are, personal and residential, but also deliver on durability and practicalities and commercial discipline. So this evening, we're going to have a conversation about this new era of stay through a design lens and how we can answer that brief with intelligence and curiosity and warmth and longevity. So I am absolutely delighted to welcome you all here to hear the conversation that I am going to have with, I've got my notes now, Sophie Burrell, Senior Product and Design Manager at Cheval. Welcome, Sophie.
Thank you. I love the applause. Do it again later. Thank you.
With Kalindi Juneja, CEO at POB Hotels. Welcome, Kalindi. Joanna Knight, Managing Director at Joanna Knight Interiors Limited. And the longest title award goes to Aaron Rana, Design Director at Accor Group, Europe and North America Premium Mid-Scale Economy. Thank you. So before we really dive into our conversation, perhaps I'm just going to ask my panelists to introduce yourself and your roles in your companies briefly. Aaron, do you want to start?
Yeah, I won't repeat my title. I'm Aaron. I am the design director and I look after a region within ENA, so Europe and North Africa. I look after 12 brands for Accor, and it's a role where I get to work with owners, developers, private equity to sign franchise agreements, hotels, renovations, refurbs, conversions. And then my role is really to make sure we get the best for our brand, and we help them deliver it with their consultants, whether that's architects, interior designers, and suppliers.
Wonderful.
Hi, I'm Joanna, and I set up JKI, or JK Interiors, 17 years ago. And we are interior designers, design managers, and procurement consultants working in the hospitality industry, working with hotels, cruise ships, and luxury trains.
I'm Kalindi. I'm CEO of POB Hotels. We're a collection of independent luxury hotels all across the country. Often a hotel joins us soon after they've done a huge amount of investment and want to reposition, or that they're thinking about it and they want to talk to us about how they should go about it.
And I'm Sophie. I work for Cheval Collection. I'm a project and design manager. We've got 11 properties, so in the UK, in London and in Dubai, and we're really looking to grow. So this is actually a really exciting year for us.
Fantastic. Thank you, everybody. Before we talk about new hospitality models, I think it's really important for us to define some of the language that we are going to use today. So this is a question to the whole panel. What do we mean when we talk about long stay or extended stay, and how does that differ from the length of stay we might consider normal in hospitality settings, I suppose, as opposed to a resort, which we would expect to be a longer stay?
I'll go first. So I think, and I might be throwing a ball way out of field here, but when we talk about long stay or extended stay, for us, it's not typically a hotel model. It's the room type. It's to describe the type of room that you're going to be buying or you're renting for that period. Apart hotels as well, yes, fine. That gives you an idea of what you're doing. But in terms of the stay and what defines it for us in Accor, we actually call it living. Okay, so nowadays everybody has a different way of working. They've got family. They've got if they've got children, they're more kind of at home and in a fixed location. Many people don't have children and they are hybrid working. They are traveling the world. I've got friends who are designing visuals sitting on a beach, and I've got people who are going traveling and digital nomads. So this model is a flexible model now, and people are finding places to stay, and we need to provide places that can work for people who are coming for a 1 night, 2 night stay, or potentially going, you know what, we want to rent it for a year, but we might not be coming every 2 weeks, and we might be coming every other month. We've got models for all of that. So we run a hybrid version, and I think there's some variation between what we'll talk about today.
I think really just to echo what Aaron has just said is our clients are quite diverse and their guests are very diverse, and we work with clients that are building apart hotels where we have to look at not only the interior design of the guest room, but we have to include facilities so that they can cook for themselves. So they maybe have a studio type bedroom. And then we have other clients where maybe they have a hotel room model, but perhaps clients stay there for a week, 2 weeks, or a month. And therefore, again, they have to be comfortable to do that. So I think very much the language of hotel stays has changed over time, and some people do just stay 1 or 2 nights, and some people stay for a lot longer. And depending on the brand, is very much dependent on how we go with the interior design and the procurement.
How has the wider definition of hospitality changed over the last 5 years, or has it? When we talk about hospitality, do we mean the same now as we did then?
I think hospitality is very much service-driven as well as the interior design. I think it's very much about the guests feeling comfortable staying wherever they're staying, for however long they're staying.
Mm-hmm. And do you think that conversation has changed? Do you think previously when we talked about hospitality, it was much more sort of within sort of 4 walls and the actual physical space rather than everything else it encompasses?
I think so. And I think there was much more emphasis on corporate in previous years. And now the variety of customers and how they're staying and who they're staying with, whether they're staying with their families, whether they're travelling for business, whether they're travelling for pleasure, has changed immensely in the last 10, 15 years.
Has that been the same for you, Sophie?
Well, actually, we've been doing serviced apartment for 45 years. So it hasn't really changed for us. It's just maybe the way they're staying and the type of guest we're having with us. But yeah, in the past 5 years, particularly since COVID, obviously, we have different sorts of guests and staying a little longer with us. I say that, but actually we've got guests who have been staying with us for 10, 15 years. Really, because we've got those beautiful properties all around London, in really good location. Do have a look at the website. I'm doing it way too much for Cheval, really. What was the question? Whoops.
Has the definition of hospitality changed over the last 5 years?
So I'll speak for UK luxury, and in that space and the independent space, it's changed drastically. We actually do publish a white paper every October where we do go out to a very massive luxury sample size to really see how expectations are shifting. So this is not just what we're seeing, but this is what guests are telling us. In the last few years, certainly wellness is a huge factor, and incorporated with wellness, space in the room has become much more important. Going back to your previous question, just so impacts this one a little bit is length of stay. For us, typically, because I'm talking UK luxury, it's 2 nights, really, but long stay for us would be anything over 3 nights. And room size expectations now are immense. And we see most of our hotels actually would rather now be smarter operators, have less rooms that are larger, getting a higher average rate than being busy fools with a number of tiny bedrooms as they would have in the past. So that's probably pretty defining. But also guest expectations are higher than ever. You know, everything's expensive and they're willing to pay for it, but then expectations come with.
Of course. Fantastic. Thank you. Aaron, I want to return to what you've already spoken about, and that's the living concept that you work with. What does that mean in a hospitality context? And what does that mean for the guest that a more traditional hotel model might not deliver?
So just to define what I mean by living, okay, it's not something that crosses every brand. It's the way Accor, we define our types of hotels that are providing a living concept, okay? And the idea of living is, and the reason we call it living is because somebody might be coming to stay for leisure. Somebody might be coming for business. Somebody might be combining the two. Some might do 1 night stay, 3 night stay, week, whatever. The fact is they're all living. They're doing what they need to do. So we call it living. So we don't call it a long stay hotel or an apart hotel. We call it living brands. And that means that they've got that flexibility to kind of provide that wide range of facilities and options for the guests. So we can have hotels that are fully what we would call extended stay rooms with kitchenettes, living lounges, dining areas. But then we also run majority of them as a bit of a hybrid model where we have standard rooms, which you would expect, standard double rooms, zip and link rooms. You quite have family rooms, adjoining rooms. But then we also offer a percentage with a kitchenette so that we can actually offer that as a premium room or a suite. So we call that living, and we have that across all of our brands, and we can flex depending on the market, and we can have a hotel that has all kitchenettes or not. We can do a separate wing. We also then touch into residence and this kind of timeshare element of a hotel where we can actually create more of a premium offer where you can have a almost separate apartment block where you have your own entrance, your own concierge, your own arrival, your own mailbox. So it's almost like you actually live there. But what we do, and when we plan the hotel architecturally, we make sure we can connect that to the main hotel on every level so that when those rooms are available for the hotel inventory, it feels connected. So there's lots of things that we can talk about. And we had a previous discussion and we talked for a while, but there's many things we can touch on. So that kind of hopefully touches on the living aspect of what I've mentioned.
And is that something that your operators have embraced? And have you seen an increase in, I suppose, take up on those living models within each setting?
Yeah, it's actually really funny that we're having this talk today, because just this morning I've had 2 conversations about living brands during my workday. But it's also crossing all segments. So we're going from the kind of economy level to the premium, and that's what I cover. So that's the PME side. Luxury, we also have branded resi. So if anybody knows the Raffles and OWO, we've got residences there. So, you know, it expands and it's a different offer. It's much bigger. There's a lot more, well, the cost is a lot higher. But, ultimately, we've done an Ibis Styles recently in Burton-on-Trent where the owner said, well, I've actually got a strong market where I've got clients, corporate clients who are wanting to rent out 10 rooms for 3 months. But they want their staff to stay there because they're workers, and we want a kitchenette for them so that they can not cook. So this is one of the big differences. We don't actually offer full cooking services in majority of those. We do micro ovens or kind of light cooking because it then adds a lot of complexity with fire life safety, ventilation, and all of those added things that for an owner, he doesn't want to deal with because it's the extra cost, but he wants the model to be able to offer the flex. So yeah, there is a high demand for it now, and it's spanning across all segments and all brands. And the beauty of it is each brand, again, for us, I look after 12, all have their own target audience, their own defining design brief and the brand vision. So a Mercure is about locally inspired and people who want to go and stay there and feel a part of that location. Iberstyle's about people who want something design-driven storytelling. So it flexes a lot.
This speaks, Sophie, directly to what you deliver for your guests in a service department, that idea of living.
Yeah, absolutely. We really want our guests to feel at home with us. We've got some short stay apartment, but we've got lots of long stay as well. And as I was saying earlier, they're staying from 3 months to years and years with us. And we really want them to be comfortable in this space. Our apartments are fairly large, but also is the service and, as you're saying, the flexibility that we are offering. So we always really pay attention to the way we organize, typically the wardrobes. We've got guests coming with a lot of suitcases, a lot of clothes, and lots of shopping as well. So really long wardrobes runs, full-fledged kitchen, so you can really live there. We never have actually F&B in our properties, but we could suggest a chef to come. A lot of people actually come. It's multi-generational stay. So a lot of families come together. They can rent an entire floor. And the way our properties are done is on each floor, you've got 2 or 3 apartments. You've got various cours. So you could really live there, be comfortable, and actually live on your own time. So the way that in an hotel, you would have the breakfast time, and then you have certain timing for certain things. Actually, with serviced apartment, and of course, branded resi, you don't have that. You're really comfortable. You do what you want when you want. And the way we offer flexibility as well, we've got some connecting apartments, but we know our guests so well. It's also flexibility and personalization. So we really try to make them comfortable to live at their own rhythm, really. Yeah.
But I just wonder, thank you, fantastic answer, Sophie. I wonder if there are elements of that feed in, Kalindi, into your settings where it is a shorter stay, but are you able to integrate that idea of living and sort of inhabiting those spaces, or do you approach it completely differently because it is that sort of 1 to 2 night turnaround?
Yeah, I think for us guests, even when they're coming to us just for the night, they want to immerse and switch off immediately. So there's so much that we need to think about in terms of comfort and immediate relaxation. And lots of hybrid spaces that can be flexible depending on season and what's going on. Most of our hotels have Michelin restaurants. The other big thing we're seeing is previously it would have been very much, you go to the Michelin restaurant and so on, but food trends are changing. So most of our hotels now have 2 restaurants, and there'll be a casual dining offering. If someone's staying for longer, chef would need to get very personalized with what they do. So space, comfort, and so on, I think is pretty universal. Yeah, personalization and luxury.
Yeah. And one of the things that's really important to you in your settings is that individuality and sense of place. Can you talk a little bit more about how you deliver that for your guests?
Yeah, so sense of place is actually a brand pillar of ours. So we wouldn't take a hotel on in the collection unless it really felt embedded in where it was. So from everything to colours to landscapes of, design inspiration, everything has to incorporate, and product, everything has to incorporate sense of place. So it's extremely important. I completely forgot the other part of this question, which was, I did a Sophie.
About individuality.
Yeah, so we're a designer's dream or nightmare, because most of our hotels would have every hotel room would need to be completely different. We do have some exceptions, and there tend to be some, and I'm going to be so careful what I say because I can just so many designers in the room. But the hotels where there's a color per floor, like that wouldn't work for us. No, we don't do that. So every room has its own story often. Everything from the name to the tapestry to everything. And that's not to say all our hotels are traditional. We have some very funky, cool, modern hotels. We equally have some traditional listed properties. But yeah, individuality is utmost with sense of place.
So if you have each individual room with its own narrative. How do you then have a consistency across your sort of brand and for your guests to know what to expect?
So there can be some core elements that put rooms within a category, of course, in baseline size and amenities and so on that can define it, but still offer individuality. Our repeat ratio of guest is sometimes as much as 50%, so it's really high. And with that in mind, guests want to be inspired to come and stay in different places. It is, there's that element of surprise. Everybody likes to be. I hate surprises, but most people like surprises. I guess we're probably very different in terms of landscapes and market. But
That's
yeah,
why we brought you together for this conversation.
Yeah, great.
No, it's and you're completely right. And but that's the beauty. Yeah, we all have our individualities, and we're all targeting certain individuals and markets, and there's something for everyone. I was going to say, for me, when I joined Accor, one of the questions they asked me was, "What's your favorite hotel?" And I was like, "I don't stay in hotels." And they were like, "What do you mean?" And I was like, "You've come for a hotel design job at a company." And I said, "I stay in Airbnbs." And they were like, "Why?" And I was like, "Because I want to live in the place I'm visiting."
Right, we're taking him off the panel.
Yay!
Jack.
But it's made a big difference because I think I approach it in a way of how do we make it individual? And I think the point that we do is it's about the service level. We've got multiple brands, but the service is ultimately what connects our brands and how we deliver it, the collaterals, the way the guests can ask for anything, we respond to them, and so forth. And that varies across the brands.
So we're actually the same. It's about the service, even though there's a few people in the room who worked with us before. All our properties look very different, but we want to have the cheval atmosphere. And I think this is with the service and obviously certain touch point. We want people to feel they're at cheval. They have their preferred property and they tend to come back to the same one. But yeah, that level of service is what I think differentiates us. And you really feel the cheval way. Is that a thing? Cheval way.
I think it is. We have a client who has a multitude of properties, and they have land-based properties, they have boats, and they have luxury trains. And they're all very different. The design of them is all very, very different. The clientele is quite different. I think the average stay on a train, and Sarah, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is 1.2 nights on things like the Orient Express. So it's quite a short stay. But what the cohesive thing for all of that client's properties is the level of service. And their guests know what kind of level of service they're going to get. And they get almost, I think, is it a ratio of, one member of staff per 2 people or something. I mean, it's a very, very high level of service.
Fine, you win.
Okay. Okay, you can go now. But it's very much about individual design on a lot of our clients' properties. And it's all about it looking very, very individual and being very, very comfortable for that particular client.
So do you think it's such a short amount of time because the Orient Express is very much of an experience as opposed to a stay?
It's totally experiential for that.
Yeah.
Obviously, their other hotels have longer stays, and things like their Le Bateau Belmont tend to be tours, and it's a tour of a region, and there we have to think about how people are going to use and live in that space comfortably for maybe 5 to 7 nights or 10 nights even.
So that is sort of longer within this conversation.
Yeah, and to go back to what Sophie was saying before, and Kalindi as well, about guests feeling comfortable. When the client is looking at the design, and when we're then looking at how we're going to apply the design that perhaps another interior designer has provided a concept for, if you're staying one night in a corporate hotel, maybe you just live out of your suitcase. If you're actually traveling somewhere for 5 nights or 10 nights, you don't want to be tripping over your suitcase on the floor. You want a space under the bed. You want drawers to put all your belongings. You actually want some shelves to put your makeup and your toiletries in the bathroom. You don't want to be balanced on the side of a tiny sink. And all this has to be taken into consideration when you're trying to provide something super high luxury and comfortable for your guests to stay long term.
So it's that guest journey, but there's also a lot of operational considerations that you go into for your clients. How do you deliver, durability, maintenance, and answer those operational needs without compromising perhaps, the sort of warmth and individuality that you've just talked about?
So we are nothing without our suppliers, basically. We are nothing without our suppliers. And it is, well, it's true. We rely on our suppliers to help us. We go to them with problems and to help us find solutions. And so we want to preserve the nuance of design. I wanted to get that word in. I remembered it. It's on my hand. We want to preserve the nuance to make everything very individual. But to do that, we can't just go out and randomly cherry pick from the retail market. We have to work with the concept and then go out into the marketplace and work with our designers. We're constantly outsourcing new designers, new places, new products, new developments. There's so many new developments all the time. Whilst thinking about sustainability, carbon footprint, we're constantly looking at all of this, and we go to our suppliers, and our suppliers come to us and say, hey, we've got something great. And we stack it. And then somebody in the office will go, oh, what are you doing? Oh, I've just seen something like that when I was wherever I was last week. And that's what we do the whole time. Constantly talk to our suppliers. We don't gatekeep information. We tell other people. We will tell our peers. We will tell other designers. We will tell other procurement consultants. We do talk to each other. We are competitors, but we're friendly competitors. We're frenemies. So we will share information with each other.
But I think that's one of the most marvellous things about the commercial interior sector as a whole, isn't it? It's the generosity amongst everybody, even just sharing your expertise for everybody here today. It is a really joyful community that we all get the privilege to work within. So absolutely. Back to operational needs. There must be some really specific operational needs that you have to take into consideration when you're working on something like the Orient Express. What's been sort of quite challenging, and how might you have overcome those?
Oh, there's been lots of challenges. There's always challenges, whether you're working on a land base or whether you're working on something on the ocean or on the rails. So, like a really simple one, which some of you may have come across, is things like shakedown cruises and hard stops on trains. If something stops very suddenly, you've got a beautiful chandelier. Unless you're in an earthquake-prone zone, you're not expecting your chandelier to shake. Now, it does when you're in a moving vehicle. And so we have to think about things like that. And we work very hard with all of our suppliers to work out the motion. So if it's a ship, it has a different motion to the motion of a train. Where are you going to put rubber bungs between elements of glass? How are you going to attach it? Is the motion going to work a screw undone, Sarah? We have to think about all of this. And what we try and do is we try and trial everything. So we do a lot of prototyping as well. And I think that's the same for land-based projects. You still have to prototype things. It's why we have mock-up rooms. Yeah. You can't really go to rollout without a mock-up room, because if you do something wrong once, that's okay. But if you do it wrong 900 times, that's a bit of an issue.
Yeah. So actually, before the mock-up, and my colleague Stepanka is here, and she knows, for housekeeping, we get all the finishes and all the fabric, and we test everything with coffee, wine. Fake tan, I've heard, is actually really hard to remove. So yeah, we actually do that even before. I don't use it. We actually do that even before the mock-up room, trying and testing all the finishes. And it's tricky.
It's really tricky.
It is.
Marble. We all like to specify a bit of marble, don't we? But terrible in a bathroom. When someone puts hand soap on it, it's going to mark. Hand soap.
Okay. Pens on it. Okay. Sorry.
But when we return to extended stays, there must be operational considerations that you have to, Sophie, take into consideration if somebody is going to stay in one of your apartments for a week, a month, a year, 10 years, that vary wildly from Kalindi's guests who might be there a night or two. So what are those considerations that you have to take for operations?
Stepanka is going to love me. Housekeeping, maintenance. No, it is really a thing, because at the end of the day, we're a business. We don't want to keep replacing constantly our upholstery, our piece of furniture. The challenge actually in serviced apartment and branded resi, it needs to look homely. Yeah. So it's about the texture. It's about how that makes you feel when you walk in the room. But at the same time, it needs to be resistant, not bulletproof. I mean, the cushion, we'll be happy to replace it once in a while. But the headboards, it really needs to be resistant. We need to be able to clean it and fast, because we can't actually have apartments out of stock for a while. It needs to be like really, really fast. So we're really paying attention to that. And before working at Cheval Collection, I was pure interior design, and I was doing a really lovely concept, and I love my fabric and I love it all, and I present it. And then I didn't care what would happen after that. I mean, I did care a little bit, but it wasn't really my consideration. And now that I've been a few years at Cheval, it is so very important, because there is teams that working on the properties, and just for them to not have, and for me, not have the headache to have to replace everything constantly. And also, when you walk into an apartment and the carpet is a bit dirty, how does that make the guest feel? If there is a light that is a little bit like glitchy, or I think it is a lot of how that makes you feel, really. So operation tough, man, like really hard.
And like I said before, Kalindi, that's a huge contrast to when you're having a relatively quick turnaround with your guests. What are the considerations that have been really important, I suppose, through the design to make the operations run smoothly?
Yeah, I think for us also, the biggest consideration is many of our hotels are in really remote locations. So we have to think about that. We have to think about, when housekeeping can actually work and then needs to bugger off because you're not in a city centre. Like, we do have city centre properties, but, majority are. And so on. So, it needs to be really quick turnaround. And so it's going to get a lot of wear and tear. So, yeah, the operational side is probably one of the key things. The other thing is, again, with sense of place should also be, often these are in such idyllic locations that room design has to think about making the most of every view, every nook and cranny, every piece of history has to be thought about. So that's a big part of the story. And often, like, for example, one of our hotels is Gravetye Manor in Sussex. And when they did their restaurant design, which is this gorgeous Michelin restaurant, they're really known for their garden. So they needed to bring that sense of place. So when you go to that restaurant, you forget you're sitting inside, because with such clever interior design, it basically feels like you're the inside out. So in that short space of time, you need to give your guest that optimum experience in every possible way.
Perfect. Thank you. Aaron, you earlier on touched on branded residences, and I know that that's something that we've all been talking about a lot recently, and it's very much a growth area within hospitality. Can you tell me whether that's your experience across your brands as well, and how you're approaching branded residences? Does that change across your different brands?
Branded resi is it's an interesting concept. It's something I wasn't too familiar with, to be honest with you. And the simplest way I can explain it is a bit like a timeshare, and that's the easiest way, because it then gives you that perspective of you kind of own or you rent something and you lease it back to the hotel when you're not using it. So it's got a really good business model, and it's great for investors and people who are wanting different locations to live and work in. Also, from a corporate perspective, it's quite good because they can also have people based in different places. So there's a really strong emphasis around that side in terms of the business. Owners and private equity, they like it because, again, it's another business model for them to try and sell into and buy into. I think the world has changed a lot, and these ideas and models are shifting and changing with it. Yeah. We talked about earlier when you were saying, has hospitality changed over the years? It hasn't changed. It's all about service. It's all about hosting somebody, making them feel welcome. It was the most basic thing, offering a bed, something. My mum always told me, offer a drink, offer a snack, make sure they go home well fed, all that sort of thing. So that's the basics of it. But now people are looking for more. They're looking for places to work, places to live and stay, whether they're there for business, whatever. There's this whole leisure thing that I've talked about before, people adding nights on to business trips or staying for longer or whatever. So yeah, it is a business model that's growing. Whether it's across all brands is, again, I'm not seeing it strong in the kind of economy mid-scale level per se, because I think the people who can afford a branded resi are probably the more premium and most likely luxury level. And they are people who travel a lot, they want to experience, and they want experiences. Yeah. What it offers them, and I think we touched on this in our pre-call, was this kind of where I was saying to you about this build to rent and this kind of big crossover that's coming in, where even now people aren't owning, and the people who are renting, they're not renting a private property, they're actually renting a building that is essentially a hotel, and it has a hotel level bedroom, apartment, and it's got cinema and private spaces and social hubs, a bowling alley, a co-working area, and there's this real mix and blend, and residencies are kind of providing this new idea. I do think people are less likely to own homes now because of the prices, so branded resi is giving this kind of flexibility. You don't have to own it forever, and you can be you're mobile then. Yeah. So yeah.
Well, BTR is another sort of exciting growth sector that we hadn't necessarily planned to touch on. So we might come back to that in a moment. Joanna, I'm interested to know about your experience of branded residence and the growth that we're seeing there.
So we have a couple of clients that have built double-decker hotels, and very similar to what Aaron's been talking about, there's been a fully serviced hotel for the first, say, 12 floors. We've had a couple of these over the years. For the first 12 floors, and it's got your swimming pool, it's got your leisure, it's got maybe one or two restaurants, reception, and then you've got your 5-star branded hotel rooms. And then you go around the side of the hotel in both cases, and you have a different entrance. It's a smaller entrance, and that will then have a lift in it, and it will take you up to almost like serviced apartments. But within those apartments, you can have a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, or a studio apartment, and there will be cooking facilities. There will be a combi oven, and there'll be a hob. And we would traditionally furnish them with everything you'd need to make yourself a simple meal. But there would also be a very large communal area. Wow. And within that communal area, you would have chef demonstrations. You wouldn't necessarily have somebody doing something every night, but there'd be something there most evenings. So there's a sense of community, so that people that are maybe living there long term or staying there for maybe a week or a month would actually become part of that community in maybe a city that isn't normally their home, but could feel part of that community. And conversely, if they don't want to cook, or they're only there for a week and they don't want to join in, they can pop down to the hotel and use all the facilities there. And we've very much seen an upturn or an uptick in that. Of these buildings basically going up, where you've got both business models going on.
So I definitely want to come back to two things: community and amenity spaces. But first, Kalindi, I just want to ask about your experience of branded residences, and whether that's something that you'll foresee some of your settings, or perhaps some of your new settings, going down that route. But if not, then sort of why not? What are the roadblocks there?
Definitely, we're seeing lots of that in the last, I'd say, 4 years. The starting point often is not because somebody thought that's the way I want to, grow my hotel, but often it was due to restrictions because they couldn't add on to what they could, and having individual cabins and so on was working. It also was another big reason was something I touched on earlier, which was wellness. A lot of our hotels are now starting to incorporate wellness within the bedroom space for a couple of reasons. One, so it's really part of your journey throughout. And secondly, the cost of putting on a spa now sometimes just doesn't make sense from a return on investment point of view, depending on the number of rooms a property has. And so often they're thinking about, well, how can I offer a really gorgeous wellness element? So we have hotels, for instance, where, most of our hotels now will have rooms that have hot tubs and saunas and so on within the bedroom space. And with that, we're seeing more of that branded residence, if you like. There are very few at the moment that are doing that traditional, timeshare model, but we're starting to see it. And certainly anything new that's being built, it seems exactly that's what investors want. So we're seeing more and more of that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And I think, Sophie, the two bits that I want to come back to with everybody, but starting with you, community and amenity spaces, speak directly to what you deliver at Cheval. Tell us a little bit about the amenity spaces that some of your settings have and how that might build a community. Is that something that you encourage?
Not really. No, actually, because we've got a fairly large apartment, big kitchens, etc., we don't really have a lot of amenities. We do have a cinema room. Yes. I think what is really key for Cheval is the location. So our 9 properties in London are in really beautiful locations. You've got everything you need around you. This is South Kensington, Knightsbridge, Hyde Park, Towerbridge. So really nice location. So not really, but at the same time, we really want our guests to feel that they live like a local. They're really part of the community. Because the properties are so central, really. So we don't really have guests not staying in the hotel coming in, but more the other way around. They're really into their neighborhood. And we've got so many in London and quite a few in Dubai as well that, it's like that, really.
Fantastic, thank you. Aaron, with that sort of community and amenity area, are you seeing changes in how some of your hotel settings are working to build a community? And a separate question, how are you seeing the amenity spaces develop?
So it's really interesting because, and again, completely different models. That's all it is, and it's a different offer for different people and the way they want to be. When we have living concepts or living hotels, we have, again, a variety of room types. So we have studio apartments. Studio apartment is your bed, a kitchen in there, a wardrobe, and typically a lounge chair or a little sofa area. And then you have your bathroom. So again, very similar to your typical kind of hotel bedroom. We then have larger apartments where it could be that they've got a larger dining area, whatever. You could have a 2-bed combined, 2 with a living lounge. You can even have 3 and so forth. So we also make sure to offer additional amenities when we program the hotel. So whether we have a separate laundry room where people can go and actually do their laundry, they can dry their laundry, so it's a separate space, it's not in the room, because otherwise you feel a bit like a student. You've got your air dryer next to your bed, all that. So you don't want that. You want to give them that service. Additionally to that, it's the separate entrance, it's the concierge, it's the mailbox, because actually if you own a residence there, you want a mailbox so that your mail goes there. Yeah. We also offer them storage facilities, because when you live there and you're going to be there for a longer period of time, you might want some of your own belongings there. So you can put them into storage if you're not going to be there, or you can bring them back out. So the area programming of the hotel from an architectural standpoint, from the very beginning of feasibility, is really important that we can re-look at it. To that point as well, security. It's a huge one about how we actually allow interaction between the private residence spaces, the hotel, the public spaces, how people can pass through, and all of that. So yeah, that's what we do in terms of area and amenities. We offer also, if because as I said earlier, we don't always offer a full kitchen hob like cooking facilities, but we appreciate that people want to potentially do that, or even host a dinner party if they want to. So we actually have one of our brands, Adagio, and we've got other brands that do this. We actually have a communal kitchen, which is a fully functioning kitchen, beautiful dining areas, lounge areas. You can hire it, so you can almost book it out like a meeting room or whatever, and you can host, or you can just go and use it. And what that does, and again, I'm going back to my student days, you kind of go, you meet other people who live there, you kind of talk, you create that kind of community. We don't want them just stuck in their room cooking and, having their meal. Yeah. We want them to go out. That also touches on our lifestyle brands, which is we're all about the social hub, the community. The bedrooms and the living areas typically are a little bit smaller because we don't want you to spend the money and your time there. We want you to actually be in the social hub and engaging with the neighborhood and the community and people. So yeah, I liked some of the ideas that you guys said about bringing in chefs and bringing in people and doing demonstrations. We have various things at our hotels, like Movenpick. We have a chocolate tasting hour, a wine tasting hour. So, you get all of these things where it kind of draws people down to kind of talk and interact with each other. So, yeah, there's lots of innovative ways of doing those things.
Kalindi, I wonder if community is also something that you actively encourage in your hotel settings.
Not necessarily. Most of our guests come as, they naturally do it.
But that's okay if that's not what they're looking for.
Yeah. So most of our guests would be couples. That's almost 80%. And we're seeing a growth in solo travelers and then the rest, but mostly because leisure is the pursuit. And I think it's a sign of a good relationship if they want to spend time with themselves as opposed to talk to strangers. But there is an element at some hotels, I think, where experiences are growing. And a lot of, our hotels are the destination. So lots of people are coming because they really want to experience what's on offer. But we definitely see it with our hotels that have an older clientele. There is that expectation. I think they're so bored of talking to each other. They want that sense of community. There's a theme emerging. And so, you just want to start talking to the person sitting next to you and so on. So yeah, there are elements like, I'm joking, but seriously, we do wine tasting and cider tasting and those type of very immersive local experiences. And there's a huge growth in that. And with that, there is a sense of community. And yeah, we would do a chef's table and so on, but it's a certain type of person. So yeah.
I completely understand. A great answer. We've just got one more question for my panelists today, and then we have a roaming mic to come out for you to ask your own questions. So please do think if you've got any questions that we haven't already answered, you're really welcome. So looking ahead, what should the hospitality industry be thinking about to future-proof the interiors for this... to future-proof the interiors for this new era of stay? So that's both the sort of short, snappy, quick turnaround stay, but also the extended stay and in all these sort of variety of settings. And what do you think will remain unchanged? So what do we need to future-proof and what needs to remain unchanged?
Okay, you gave me that. No, look,
we're all going to answer it, so we're all good.
So the thing that's going to not change, is service.
Yeah.
That's always going to be there. As I said from the beginning, it's not changed for thousands of years. Okay, so we need to maintain service. What we need to embrace, I think it was, and how to prepare for this change. It's not prepare, it's here, it's happening. Again, it's embrace it. I actually would tell people to go and actually stay in places and actually, I always used to tell my designers and people I met, travel, actually try different things, stay, because the only way you're going to know how to design for these spaces, and I'm talking to designers in the room here, is actually experiencing it and knowing it. Like I said, I know I stay in Airbnb, so I stay in hotels, I've stayed in tents, I've stayed in whatever, but it gives you that different understanding of how to embrace it. Ultimately, I don't think it's going to change how you design. I just think you need to come with fresh ideas and fresh perspective, and just open your mind to that. We're going to be doing something different that may not be what everybody expects, but there is logic and madness behind it that will work.
Keep hold of that mic. When we talk about, I know we're bossy. When we talk about service, what role does digital service play in that, or do you foresee it being in-person service?
I'm kind of in the middle with this personally. Okay, we're embracing digital side of things with a digital key for check-in, and we also embrace the fact that we still want to be people-centric and we want to have the face-to-face. So what we've understood, and there was a time when I started at Accor, we was like, we're going to get rid of the reception. Get rid of the reception. Literally, people were like, what? Where do I go? Where do I check in? No, you can just come sit over here. We'll sit down with you. We'll check you in. They're like, but it was mind blowing for people. It's a bit like, and I'm going to go on a tangent here, supermarkets and self checkout. Okay, you can see it. There's the people who just go, I'm getting my stuff, going to self checkout, and I'm gone. You got the other people who are like, nah, I'm happy to wait in the line and put it on and let somebody scan it through and have my little chat and put it in a bag and do that. No different to a hotel. We're now offering both sides. Like we appreciate that there's people who want somebody to talk to and they want to go and have that experience and that conversation. And we embrace that. We want that. What we're doing is we're still getting rid of the reception and we're making it a barception. So it's in the bar or it's in the coffee shop and you're just doing it in a different way. So digital key, there is a place for it. Digital kind of embracing, there is a place. I went to a hotel and crazy, I could actually open the door with my hand. Like literally my handprint, like my palm. I was like, this is crazy. Didn't speak to anybody though. Like the entire time I went to this hotel, I went in, didn't speak to a single person, even breakfast. Nobody came down, nobody checked my number. I just went, did what I want and left. I felt like I was robbing the place because I was like, no, So there is a place for it, but it's individual. Yeah. It's for people. And again, for us, we've got so many brands. Certain brands are going to embrace it a lot more. Some are going to be a bit more traditional because of the clientele and the type of people that we're going to have. But yeah, there's a place for both.
Great answer. Thanks, Aaron. Joanna, the same question. Where will we see growth and what do we what do you think will remain unchanged?
So I think service, again, is key to everything. And depending on the level of your brand or depending on where you place yourself in the market, depends on what kind of service you need to get. And I think that also comes back to digital check-ins and things. If you're going somewhere and you're going somewhere very quickly for a night, it's somewhere to put your head down, then you don't want to stand in a queue and exchange pleasantries. You just want to get in, put your card in, go, yeah, it's me, get your key, go there, go to bed, have your 6-7 hours sleep and get your flight and go in the morning. Whereas if you're actually going somewhere where you want to experience the local culture, then you actually want to talk to people. I'm a very people person, and I find it really sad when I don't get to talk to people. I like to go in and ask about their day and get the feel of where I'm staying. With regards to where things are going and designing for the new era, I think what Aaron said was absolutely right. I think designers have to put themselves in the place of the guest staying. I think we have to empathise with the guest that's staying there. And if you can go and stay in different types of hotels and work out what people want or what they might want or need, then I think that works really well. So if you're staying in a motorway services hotel, then you just need someone to open your suitcase and put it so you're not on your hands and knees on the floor, scrabbling through it. You need a good reading light. You need a good shower. Crack on. If you're going to stay somewhere in a luxury resort for 7 nights, then yeah, you want all the other stuff. You want the drawers, you want the good coat hangers, you want the nice toiletries. And I do think that having empathy with the guest and working out what they might need is really key to the design process.
So that's about the hospitality brand having that diligence into who their guest is, what their needs are, and how they answer that brief. And if they do that, that's where they'll see that success, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you. Kalindi, the same question for you.
Something that we haven't actually talked about today, but perhaps is one of the biggest priorities when thinking about design is sustainability now. For us, all our hotels are on that journey, but 70% of them now are actually officially getting accreditation, mostly with EarthCheck or the likes. And so one of the first things they will ask any supplier is, what the sustainability credentials are there, because it's just so important. So, I would say that is really where things are heading for us, and very much thinking about ethically sourced and so on, and that being part of the design story as much as it can, because just saying a hotel is sustainable is not sexy. So incorporating it in other ways to create a narrative is really, really important. And for us, again, I'll speak for the luxury end of the market. I think people want to talk to people. I think we've all acknowledged that. But I think with growing expectation, that level of service and really anticipating guest needs and incorporating tech so you're able to anticipate those needs really, really well and then do it cleverly in person is really where things are going.
Fantastic. Well, I think, the commercial interior furnishing suppliers have been on that sustainability journey already. So you are going to be delighted with how they can communicate their sustainable credentials for your project. So they're ready. They've got you. Sophie, what about you? Where will we see growth, and what do you think will remain unchanged?
So, I think you said most of it really, but for us is really the human touch. And we also went through the whole digitalization. You can open your door with your phone, etc., etc. And we tried to get rid of the reception desk as well. And then we kind of went back to it. But it's really focusing on the person. And in the past few years, we're really trying to train our staff to really be genuine and authentic with the guests. And I don't think this will ever change. Yeah. Really, I think we do need that. It's great for humanity.
It is.
Is that a good one?
It is. It is. Well, thank you. It's Sophie. It's always tough to go forth with the question. So fantastic answer. So now, Rita, I believe we've got a roaming mic. I'm very hopeful that you've all got your questions ready. So would anybody like to ask a question? They will.
With your long stay guests, do you find that they take better care of the interior of the room, or they start to treat it in a bit too much of a familiar way and stick their feet on the sofas and drink their red wine, spill it, I'll clean it up in the morning, or Sophie's going to deal with it and your housekeeping team?
If it was only that. No, they're terrible. They are. No, honestly, it's actually... And that is why I really made a point about maintenance and operation, because they would not clean it in the morning. They won't clean it at all. And not even let you know that something has been, so bad. I'm talking badly about our guests. Whoopsie. No, but seriously, maintenance really, really important. And I was skipping, but what was the first part of your question?
It's to the short stay guests or the long stay guests treat it any better? The same.
No,
they're all bad.
Really badly behaved. No, there's obviously very, very lovely people, absolutely. But we do see but we do see some bad behaviors, and a few of them is just the answer is no. They don't treat it nicely, but we try just to future-proof this and make it bulletproof, really. So once again, thank you to all the suppliers who are helping us to get it gorgeous. And indestructible.
And being indestructible, and from a continuity perspective, and to use Kalindi with your unique guest rooms, how does your GM that you might move from Seaham Hall to another place, how do they maintain those rooms 3 or 4 years down the line when someone else has ruined a sofa or a chair, and how do you replace that fabric when Rolly's likely discontinued it?
Well, actually, most of our hotels tend to do constant refurbishments, which is really good. We're fortunate enough that Because most of them are independently owned, they take it that let's not wait till it's all gone. I was going to use a rude word, which I won't, and then do it like 10 years later. So most of our hotels would generally, in a cyclical fashion, do 10 to 15 rooms every single year. If they're much smaller, then less. And then some of them tend to do seasonal closures every January to actually do refurbs of other spaces and so on. So it's constant. And this year I did a survey recently of what level of works is happening, and over 80% of our hotels are investing at the moment. So it's big. Yeah, despite the times, there's a lot of investment that's happening. But I really want to add to your previous question that was directed at Sophie. I think there is an element as hoteliers that we acknowledge that guests or us humans love hotels for a reason, because they feel they can go there, be naughty, do things they don't do at home, and put their feet up and be what they want to be. So we just have to accept it. So you guys just have to do the work of, yeah.
We hear you.
They're great questions. Thank you. Would anybody else like to ask a question? Go on, David.
Tucked in the corner. You need to tidy your hotel room up. Your mum told you this. So across the panel, you've talked a huge amount about service, personalisation, design and everything else. You have a room full of designers and people who design and come up with concepts, products all the way through. What is the one thing that is missing to enable you to achieve those dreams and things you're designing today that you could ask this little group of people to try and come up with you, including him for messing his room up?
I have a sofa bed off the shelf with Crib 5. With Crib 5.
Stuart's your man.
Off the shelf.
He's your man.
Not bespoke. Just like, yeah. Okay. Sorted. Thank you. We resolved something today. Woohoo!
Wish list answered. Has anybody else got anything for their wish list?
I think that also Aaron and I, before this talk, had a little chat, and we were talking about designers. And we love designers. We are designers. We work with designers. I think what I was saying about trying to empathise with the guest, and Elizabeth is going to cheer when I say this. Aaron said, "Why don't people remember to put a plug socket next to the mirror?" And it's little things like that. If you were using a hotel room and you were using it like you were at home, what would you need? Now, you're going to, as a lady and as a gentleman, perhaps, you're going to be doing your makeup in front of a mirror. You're going to need to dry your hair. If your hairdryer and your socket are over there and your mirror is over there, there's an awful lot of like backwards and forwards. And it's just little things like that that I think as designers, we really, it's the not sexy part of interior design, but it's very important.
Can I just ask a question, or for the designers specifically, where you've got an existing hotel and a new build hotel? Obviously, the challenges are very different between the two of them. But when does an existing hotel become unable to cope with that new era of long stay travel?
Very quickly. Even new builds. By the time we start a new build property, could be 3 years before it's open. So when we open it, there may be something else that we should have thought about. So it's ever evolving. Existing hotels is a difficult subject, to be honest. We have a lot, and there's only me and my VP, and I cover a huge region, and I cannot tell you how many emails I get from GMs being like, I typed in design and you're the one who came up, so you need to give me the answer. But it's how do we evolve them? What do we do? But a lot of what I'm doing with our global design and technical team is when they come up with new concepts, I'm actually asking them, can you just think about what you did before? Because there's no point in creating something new if in 15 years or 20 years, when my contract runs out with an owner, and I'm getting a bit business here, a part of that contract is that they need to renovate to the latest concept. But if I'm now saying to an owner, you've got to rip everything out and redo the whole thing and invest heavily again, as a business, it's a bit silly, because now I've opened the door for them to go, well, if I have to fully renovate with you anyway, I might as well go talk to Cheval. I don't want them to talk to Cheval. I want them to stay with me, right? So I've now said, if we've come up with a concept, it's not about creating something brand new. It's about creating an evolution, because things aren't broken all the time. So this it's a new thing I've discovered, just because I've seen new concepts coming into our guidelines, and I'm like, why have we reinvented the wheel? Like, it was great. We just needed to evolve the issues that were wrong with it. We've started doing that, and we're seeing that it's a better investment. And from a sustainability point of view, it means that actually a wardrobe is a wardrobe. It's got a hanging rail, a surface, it's got an area. Why do I need to just create a new one and just put, maybe it's, I can change the door panels, maybe I can just change a fitting, or maybe change a color, or making things flexible is how we're going to evolve it. But yeah, there's never going to be an easy answer for when an old hotel becomes too old. Well, when it's falling down again, but but yeah, that's typically an answer, I think, hopefully.
That's a great answer, Aaron. Thank you. Before we do an enormous round of applause, obviously, I would like to thank you all for spending the evening here. I want you to all stay, enjoy another drink, then know that there's lots of delicious food. Would like to thank Panaz, Ulster Carpets, New More wall coverings, and Hypnos for inviting me and here today, and for hosting today's event. But really, most importantly, thank you for showing that generosity and sharing all of your expertise. Sophie, Kalindi, Joanna, and Aaron, thank you so much. Huge rounds of applause. Thank you.
Hi, I'm David Johnson, Managing Director at Newmore Wall Coverings. The British Collective has been a valuable asset to Newmore Wall Coverings over the last couple of years. It's really proven to show what British companies can do in the soft furnishings industry, and particularly showing some of the manufacturing advantages in supplying British-made product. As a British manufacturer, it was fantastic to hear from the panel how they value the relationships with those manufacturers, and how our service levels and our production, and most importantly our design, can meet what they're looking for.